Yeah, I just finished up some new suspension parts on the 95, and we'll get this out, park it next to the 2020, and get a little comparison video going. And that's just a little sneak peek, because you've been watching these Shelby videos, you're like, this guy's just like driving around a Shelby and making videos. What does he know about cars? But I actually do have a 95 GT, and I make repair videos on it. So if you want to see any of those, check out those on my channel, because the Shelby is going away soon. In 7 days, I will no longer have a 526 horsepower car to drive around. I'll be back in my 215 horsepower car. But alas, that is life currently. So here's a cost comparison of the two cars before I return the Shelby. So $68,000 for the Shelby used with 24,000 miles. $1,500. Yes, you heard that right. $1,500. I recognize I got a really good deal on the 95 GT with 125,000 miles. Now, since we're losing daylight, I will go through, get some B-roll footage, and walk around other cars, and we will go inside and we will break down all the costs of anything you may have to replace on these cars, with the emphasis being on the Shelby, how much more expensive it is to run this car, with things like tires, brakes, if your electronically valved exhaust ever breaks, which in that case you might just want to go after market. Things like God forbid the motor pops, suspension, this having the magnetic ride, the front lip spoiler, and some other odds and ends on this car, compared to how relatively cheap it is to run this 95. And yes, the performance cannot hold a candle to the Shelby, but we will go through and do a comparison on these two. So get ready for that next. Okay, so starting things off, we have the MagneRide, just the front struts, 346 a piece. Cost me $250 to replace the whole, front and rear suspension on the 95 GT. Then you go to flywheel, $822 on the GT350. My flywheel on my 95 replacement was $100. Clutch pressure plate, $486 versus like the $150 on my 95 GT. And then the throw-up bearing and pilot bearing, another 50 or so bucks. So huge difference in price there. Then as we go over to the fuel, 93 is what I'm putting in the GT350. It's costing me like $60 per fill-up. I'm getting about 200 miles of range. And then you could put 91 in it, but I'm putting 93 in it. Treating the GT350 right. And then the muffler, the whole catback with the electronic valves, $2,600 just the GT350 setup. Or you can get the R exhaust actually with the no resonators for a little bit cheaper, but still $2,500. My catback on my GT was about $400. 87 octane in the 95 GT, $35 a fill up, and I'm getting about 170 miles of range, give or take. And then as we come to the tires, I can rotate the tires on my square setup on my GT, and we're looking at about $100 per tire. I did have a tire machine at the old shop I worked at, so I can mount and balance tires. Nowadays I can't, so you would have to pay a shop for that, the install. But $100 per tire. And yes, you're not getting nowhere near the grip nor performance on the GT, but that's a huge cost difference. $40 for oil change. I can get the oil and filter for about $40. The 10W30. The 5W50 is $120 for 10 quarts, and then $10 for a filter. So another huge difference in cost on oil changes there. And then Google had some disparity, but from what I could find, $400 per tire for front tires on the Shelby. And like I said, on the 95 GT, $100 per tire. And then on the rears, again, Google had some mixed numbers, but what I could find is about $450 per rear tire on the Shelby for the Michelin Pilot Super Sports. But again, it's an amazing tire. The grip is incredible, let me tell you. And then as we move on to brake rotors, from what I could find on the OEM, this website here, I'll link in the description, $365-ish per rear brake rotor. There's some huge brake rotors, and the fronts are about the same. It's about $80 per rotor for the 95 GT from Advanced Auto. And then if we look at the spoiler, so there's a couple pieces to this front spoiler, this front lip. One piece was $334, and then the other piece was $1,500. I thought that was supposed to be a little bit cheaper because you scraped it up sometimes. But that's also a huge expense on your Shelby, so be very careful that you don't damage that or have to replace it. Lots of costs, big costs on the Shelby. So the $785 hood you see on OEMPartsDirect.com, now it is in fact aluminum. There is the only parts the magnet sticks to are this little section right here with the sticker about the refrigerant for the AC. So there must be like a little metal reinforcement in there. Of course, the part that the hood latches to right here, the bracket, and then this little reinforced piece in here. As you can see, the magnet sticks to that. Now the rest of it, nothing, no magnetic pull at all. So the rest of the hood, most of it, it's mostly aluminum. Of course, you have your plastic heat extractor right in here. So yeah, $700, almost $800 for a hood, and this does have the vinyl stripes over top. I think the Shelby looks better without the stripes. That's just my opinion. And now on to the rest of the video. And oh, this hood's most definitely steel. There's no way they took. Really? No way. The 95 is also aluminum? I'm actually blown away by that. Okay, you do have a little piece of steel there. That's honestly hugely unexpected. What do you know? The Shelby does share something in common with the 95. The more you know.